that's adaptable. We love where we live. Aroha kauana mātou ki te kāinga. Lots of clean, fresh water, a healthy moana, unique plants and animals, some of which aren't found anywhere else. A region that's adaptable and resilient to challenges like climate change, well-connected communities, and is developing with nature in mind. That's why we care for our place, the mighty Waikato. And we know you care about your place too. Make your Waikato even better with us. Tō Waikato, kia wana. We love where we live.
Thank you. Welcome councillor staff and the esteemed guests from the Hamilton City Council and the gentleman back there in the public gallery. We'll get underway with our council meeting for the 18th of December 2025. We did open the workshop with a karakia, so we'll let that run and we'll get the closing karakia after we finish this meeting. So our first item up today is our deputation from the Hamilton City Council. So I'll get Sue Moroney and Sarah Thompson to come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning, councillors. So we've given you 15 minutes as part of this, so potentially maybe a 5-minute presentation, and then that gives us 10 minutes for questions. We're in your hands. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. 15 minutes is very generous. I thought it was 5, so we'll still be concise anyway. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Thompson. I'm a councillor at Hamilton City Council and chair of our Infrastructure City Delivery Committee.
Good morning, everyone. Sue Moroney. I'm a newly elected Hamilton City Councillor for the East Ward, and just like to congratulate you all on your election or re-election to council. We're all in that phase, aren't we, of coming off the hustings and focusing on the work at hand. Kia ora.
And congratulations from me as well. We haven't had a chance to properly meet all of you yet, but I expect sometime early in the new year, hopefully we'll have the chance for our councils to get together and properly get to know each other. So thank you so much for the opportunity this morning. Hamilton City Council has been a supporter of Te Huia for many years now, and our most recent formal position as a council is in support of Te Huia. I do need to note that our submission is today we were not able to have time to take it to a formal council meeting for our full council to vote on it. But based on informal discussions across our councillors, the majority of councillors were in support of the letter in regards to the extension of the trial service. Hamilton has been a very supportive partner of Te Huia to date, and one of our biggest contributions has been the investment in the Rotakoti Transport Hub. So Hamilton put in 10.5 million and Waka Kotahi New Zealand Transport Agency put in 18.5 million to build the Rotakoti Transport Hub, where the majority of people are getting on and off Te Huia, and that also serves the bus services now as well. That transport hub was in a master plan, but it would still not be built to this day, most likely, if it was not for the need to support the Te Huia service. So while it does have a use beyond the train services and being a hub for the bus services as well, there was a decision made to bring this investment forward to support the startup of Te Huia. And there were also other investments made along the way to support this, including upgrades in the surrounding roading to the transport hub and some investment in doing up the Frankton station to ensure that it had accessible toilets and paths and things like that. Take them there.
Sure. So thank you for the time to be here. We do have significant skin in the game with Hamilton City Council with this initiative, and that's primarily because over the years the City Council has seen the importance of having a really fit for purpose transport network between the largest city in the country and the fourth largest but the fastest growing city in the country. In fact, not depending on how you look at Wellington, we could almost call ourselves the third largest city in the country at times. So it makes complete sense that we've got a complete ability to have different choices that people can make for public transport. Now, some of you may not know of someone who, around this table, you may not know of anyone who uses Te Huia regularly. From today onwards, you can say you do. I'm a regular user of the Te Huia service. I use it in my capacity as CEO for actually probably the largest law firm in the country for community law. So I'm required to have meetings in Auckland frequently. And if it's in central Auckland, I use the train. And I use the train because it's actually cheaper. So that's an important thing to consider when you're thinking about cost of living. It's actually cheaper than paying the petrol to go backwards and forwards and the parking and all those things associated with it. But importantly, I use it because I can get a lot of work done on the way up and the way back. I can get all my emails done. It's great for the productivity. I can't do that in a car. I can't do that in a bus. I can only do that on the train. So I'm one of those 270 people every day that is using this service. And I look around and I see great diversity in all the other passengers on that service. So some of them are like me, they're business people getting work done on the way to meetings. Others are students, others are older people, some are foreign travellers who expect to actually be able to get on a train and travel to places when they arrive in New Zealand. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavour as a user of the service, what that looks like. But also remind you that part of what we're here to say in our submission is that this is part of the economic development proposals for our region, and in particular, the small towns between Auckland and Hamilton, but yes, Hamilton itself. So I know that some of you, we talked about hustings before, some of you on the election campaign were saying that you wanted to see more stations along the way because you do understand the importance of actually that development of those populations and the proximity to a fit-for-purpose transport network, part of which is Te Huia. Look, it's not a competition between the expressway and the train. Because when I'm on that train and I'm not using my car, I actually make it easier for people who are using the expressway because my car's not on there causing congestion. My car, along with the 56% of the other passengers on that train who said that they would be using a car otherwise, is not creating further maintenance issues. So it all works together. These are things that complement each other, not things that compete with each other.
We'd also like to emphasise, in terms of process, we really support the letter talking about the need to take any significant decisions around the future of Te Huia to a long-term plan decision. In local government, as you all know, the long-term plan is really where we make those big decisions that impact significantly on the services that we provide to our community. That's where we do our strongest and most extensive consultation with our community. And it also would give us an opportunity as Hamilton City Council and Waikato Regional Council to get fully on top of the data to date and also the business case work that's happening. Our councillors, 7 of our councillors are brand new, and we're planning a drop-in session for our councillors early in the new year on Te Huia. So it gives us time actually to work collaboratively and collectively around the future of Te Huia, as well as ensuring that we make the right decisions in the right place in terms of the long-term plan. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time this morning. We're looking forward to continuing to work with the Regional Council in partnership. Public transport and erosion control and stormwater are probably the areas where we collaborate the most. And yeah, we look forward to setting up that joint public transport subcommittee and getting that going and ensuring that we've got a good plan together in terms of strengthening our public transport within the region. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. I'll go to questions, but I'll just remind councillors that please keep your questions to the presentation today. We will just be discussing this letter later on in our agenda, so I'm not looking for any debate or any statements. It's questions on the presentation that we've just heard from Hamilton City Council. So I'll go to you, Chris.
Thanks, Chairman. Warren. Sarah, you mentioned you're going to have a discussion in City Council at some stage, so you haven't had a formal vote. Will you be having a formal vote on yes or no for Te Huia after that discussion?
So any formal vote would most likely come if there is a decision to be made. For example, if there's a need to endorse a business case or we'll take a vote when there's a requirement to do so in terms of any decision that is coming to Waikato Regional Council where we may need to have a view on a submission, for example. In this case, we only found out this decision was coming to Regional Council late last week, and so it was too late for our Thursday council meeting to bring something to it. But as chair of our City Delivery Committee, I did call every single elected member and work with our chair and mayor and deputy mayor, who mayor and deputy mayor were very much in support of this, and a large majority of elected members, but not everyone, were also in support of the trial extension because they saw actually it would be the intention was to have 5 years of data and to allow it to operate for the 5 years. And so that stays true to the original intention from our council to support a trial and our position to date. Yeah.
Thank you. My next question is for Sue. As a regular user of the service, are you aware of the cost to Hamilton ratepayers at the moment per passenger, how much the subsidy is?
Oh, look, yes, and all forms of transport are subsidised. So this is the issue, I think, that's quite important about Te Huia, is that there is much greater transparency around the cost to the ratepayer of this service than any other form of transport that we all fund. So I don't know how much I'm paying as a ratepayer for, bus route number 8, but I do know how much I pay as a ratepayer for the inter-regional passenger service. So I think that is really important in this debate, is understanding that there is a much greater level of transparency around this than any other form of transport. I don't know, for example, I couldn't even tell you how much I pay as a taxpayer and a ratepayer towards maintaining the expressway or constructing it. I honestly don't know that figure. But there is a great degree of transparency around this.
So can you tell me how much we're subsidising you every time you travel on Te Huia then?
I think the subsidy is in the level of around about, no, I'm not going to do that off the top of my head because I know how much I pay in the rates bill. That's what I know. But I was also, I don't know how much, I don't know how much you're subsidising me to drive my car on a road that I've paid for.
That's the question, but that's all right.
But that is my answer, is that all forms of transport actually do have a subsidy. This is no different. The only difference is that we can see it really clearly on our rates bill.
Okay, and my last question, which I take from Sarah's comments, you're not aware of of the future costs associated with. They are very substantial.
Yeah, so we're aware that there will be a need to invest in rolling stock, for example, in the future, and that is something that we will. I will, because we need to stick largely to what our submission is. Our submission is very clearly limited to the trial extension. That is what I got support for from our councillors. And we very clearly agreed that we would have a discussion as a council about the future of Te Huia and have a formal view on that. But at this stage, I'm here to support the trial extension to have close to that 5 years of operating time for the service. So, yeah, I am aware there'll be future costs, but actually I'm here to present this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Roma.
My car subsidises your car by an average of about $600 a year, which is my average subsidy for cars on the road. Not my question. My question is, how much of your decision was based on sunk capital, and and there's a risk, you spend $10.5 million, which in your submission today, your discussion today weighed pretty heavily on your discussion, and the risk is that we just continue a trial based on some historical spending without knowing the future spending as well. So, is there two parts of that? What's the wisdom of that decision then?
So the trial was always intended to be 5 years, and that's what everyone in this partnership signed up to. And we do emphasise in here, this is a partnership between us, Waikato District Council, Waikato Regional Council, and New Zealand Transport Agency. And all of us have invested into this trial. So the intention has always been to have the data from 5 years of the service operating. And I think also when you look at the significant disruption, as was raised in a letter to the Transport Agency, on the lines up in Auckland and the disruption that's been caused with track closures, we haven't been able to see Te Huia actually operate with the best conditions available and in the most recent year. So this also allows us to see the impact of the enhanced services, which are excellent on the Sundays, without all of the disruption with the unreliability of these track closures that have happened in conjunction with the works happening in Auckland and the City Rail Link. And we're also expecting to see the City Rail Link open halfway through next year. So there are benefits in seeing this trial through to its expected kind of period, given no one could have controlled COVID at that time, and the fact that it was delayed for that year.
Thanks.
And that gives us
I'll
an
stop you there,
opportunity to answer.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Because we have seen that articulated in your letter,
Yeah.
and all councillors have seen your letter of support.
Yeah.
So I think you have clearly articulated the reasons for support this trial extension and at the 60% FAR. Really quickly to wrap up, Angela and then Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And my comments are different to what's been said so far. Thank you, Sarah and Sue, for coming in today to acknowledge the partnership that we do have between our two councils. And I was just actually speaking this morning with my Deputy Chair of the Internal Transport Committee to talk about that partnership and how we can work more closely with you as well. So thank you for your letter, for your acknowledgement of infrastructure funds that you've already put into the service, and for myself being a member on that working group for the startup of Te Huia 2 trienniums ago. Your two councillors and staff were incredibly passionate about the service, getting it up and running, seeing it go out to the airport, making improvements as we went along, as the customers gave feedback. So just really want to acknowledge that partnership and look forward to working closely with you in the new year and around all things transport.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Liz.
Yeah, look, thank you for coming to see us today. It's lovely to see you both. Look, my question is just around the declining sort of patronage that we're seeing on Te Huia. If we were to agree that we would have a further year extension, how could we work with the city to increase that patronage? What suggestions? I mean, are you open-minded around how you might contribute to assisting regional council with increasing the patronage? Because I think that's all we want to see, are more bottoms on seats, essentially, right?
Just at the outset, look, I would acknowledge that despite some of the things that have been outside of everyone's control that have got in the way, including the track closures over the last year or more, the patronage numbers have exceeded the targets that were set. And I think that's, it's really important to acknowledge that, because that was based on a really solid business case about those targets. So despite all the things in its way, it is exceeding the targets. Can we do better? Yeah, absolutely. And certainly what I can say as a councillor around the Hamilton City Council table is that I would be wanting to argue for everything that I could to ensure that this is a fit for purpose transport network in total, so that people actually have really good choices about the networks that they use for the reasons that I outlined before.
Okay, look, I'm going to wind it up there. Thank you. We have been even more generous than our time.
Wow, 15 minutes goes generous. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, councillors, for your attendance today.
Thank you.
It is something we'll obviously be discussing later on in our agenda. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and wishing everyone a lovely Christmas as well. Thank you.
And same to you and your families. Right, we have no apologies, so we'll move on. Next item up is confirmation of the agenda that's before us. Thank you, Katarina. Thank you, Chris. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Disclosures of interest. Does anyone have any disclosures of interest on any of the items that are before us today? That's a no. Thank you. Next up is item 6, which is on page 4 of your agenda, and that is the confirmation of the council minutes from the 20th of November 2025. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mikhail. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried.
Could I just clarify? In terms of this submission that we were given by the NZ, our staff dealing with Te Huia
Workshop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Has that now come into open committee? Because it was indicated it would.
Dave, if you want to make a comment around that, that is my belief.
Later in the meeting, we have the Te Huia item tabled for your consideration. The part of that recommendation is to release that into the open session. So until you do that resolution, it currently remains public excluded.
Thank you for that clarification. Right, next item up is 7.1, the health and safety report. That is on page 14 of your agenda. And we go to Stu Brown.
Through Mr. Chair, just while Stu's getting settled. For those members who just got elected on the council for the first time, we didn't have a health and safety paper at the last council meeting, but our intention is to have one every time. This is to assist you to meet your commitments or expectations from a governance perspective, to have some oversight of what we are putting in place and the learnings we get from what's happening nationally and from any incidents that we have. So it is a standing item that you will expect, and it is your opportunity to ask questions as appropriate.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chris. A good point. And councillors, please be aware that there are a number of items that do affect yourself, and some of the things that we have in place in this council, you have the ability to take part in as well. So, and I'm sure Stu will touch on that just for those new councillors. Thanks, Stu.
Brilliant. Thank you and good morning. And thanks for the introduction, Chris. I guess I'll just add to that, and that I'm happy to speak to any of you on any health and safety matters or questions that you might have, and bring anything back to you in a timely manner. I'll take the report as read and take you through some of the areas of interest as we work through. You'll see under the national events, Lance Bell was prosecuted for falsifying a hazardous substance certificate. I've picked this up. We obviously have hazardous substances here at Council, and we've got things like herbicides and insecticides and fungicides, and we've got pretty stringent requirements around that and how we store it, how we train people, and certification. So we feel that we are in a good position there. As we move through, you'll see the reporting trends. It's really important that we identify the events as they come around, and the trends and the near misses, and it provides us with the ability to pick up on any trends that we need to address, and also issues that we might need to look at resolving. So it's good to see that they're coming through and they're in line with what we would expect to see. Picking up on that, we use a Vault app here at Council for staff to be able to report health and safety events, and we have a session plan for the ICM team when they have their back to work safely in January, just as a refresher again on using that Vault app. Moving through, you'll see under the governance section for the leadership walkarounds, the executive have health and safety walkarounds that they do each year, and we've completed 10 this year. Following the Safe Plus assessment, we have decided to increase this to 24 next year. So you'll see more of these. It's really important that we get out there, engage with the staff, and see work as said as done. I've asked Dave to bring along or to put up some pictures for me. I did a health and safety walk around in Powera probably about 6 weeks ago now, and I've just taken some pictures, and I thought it was useful to share this with you because it kind of brings to life what happens out there and what our staff are working on. This was an extremely positive experience for me. I went out with the same team probably 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and picked up some things that could be improved on, and it was a stark difference to go out and see what's been achieved now by the team. Just to talk to you about the pictures, you'll see there on the left hand side there's a rather large pile of weed and a rake, and that's coming through the rivers. Obviously the pump stations are pumping water and that sucks weed through. The team physically have to go out and remove that. You'll see it's not a particularly good picture, but there is fall prevention there across, and that remains in place while this is being completed. Now, it would be a fairly long day to work on the rake and pull that much weed out, and it's good to know that we've got relationships out there with contractors. So when the team see that there's large volumes of weed coming through, they can contact the contractor and get mechanical intervention so they can open up the gates and a digger can come in and clear that. But it's great to see that the fall prevention's there and being used. I'll work through the next one, Dave. This is a new pump that was installed. So this is work's been carried out in the pump stations. They have dramatically improved. The first time I went out, they were full of animal feces and they weren't secure, the pump stations. The guys have been working really hard. You can see it's quite tidy now. It's ply lined. There's real pride in their work. If you click on through to the next one, Dave, hopefully we'll see. That's an old pump, and you'll see the garden there. And if you go on to the next one, Dave, you'll see that on the back wall there, the notice board, they actually now have a schedule on how they grease the pumps. So this is good from a safety perspective because they know which aspects to access, and also from a cost benefit perspective. They now know through the monitoring of the pumps how much to grease basically in each of the bearings and areas of the pump to ensure that it survives a bit longer and we get more out of it. So that's really good just from a financial perspective. And you'll see the new unit there that electronically controls it all, which is great. They can do that remotely now, so they don't have to go out to site in severe weather events. They can operate from their phone. And if we move on to the next one, Dave, you'll see this is just a couple of areas picked up for further improvement. So there's some fall prevention that could be put around the back wall there, and you'll see that there's some gaps into the bottom of the pump. And I've talked to the guys about this, and they have a contractor installing guarding on that, and you'll hopefully have seen that in one of the previous. But I just wanted to show you some of the examples out there, and I guess the good thing for me is that historically the team would have went out to address a singular issue, but now they're very much going out with a look at the whole of site and see what they can address across the site, and they're fixing multiple things as they go out, whether that's bird proofing or bug bombing or fall prevention. They've even installed water out at the pump stations now so that they can actually clean it down and have non-slip areas, which is really good. So it's just been great to kind of see how that's progressed. I'll take you on through into the internal assurance activities. And this is really where the health and safety team is partnering with the organisation to look at, our different risks and health and safety systems to continuously improve, and also the events as they come through to support them with investigation and good outcomes. Taking you on through probably to just the EAP. This is our employee assistance, and you'll see that we're currently sitting at 12.1% utilisation for that, which is in the parameter that we operate, which is at 7 to 15. And really just to pick up again that 77% of the referrals are for personal reasons. So it's great that we're able to help people in their personal lives with that, and you can see that the breakdown of that. Yeah. Happy to take questions now.
Oh, right, questions. Keith.
Yeah, thanks Stuart for your presentation. Just a little bit of background. One of the things that I stood for when I stood for council was increase in efficiency, increase in productivity, and having an enabling attitude. Now, that sits in your portfolio in my view. And what I'm concerned about is we have an attitude of safety at any cost. And so if I look at the numbers, the audit said that Waikato had a lower productivity than any other region in the country. And if we would increase our productivity by 4% in this building, that's 24 people less that we could afford to employ. And when I look at the people that were absent for sickness in the last graph that you provided was quite high relative to the rest of the country. So my question to you is, what are you doing to make this an enabling environment here, productive, efficient, and getting good results?
Yeah, I guess I'll come back to your first point around, it's not safety just for the sake of it. We're doing safety where it's required. I appreciate that there's been some discussion around the last sort of 18 months with fall prevention that we've been putting out there into the different areas. Some people don't support that, but ultimately we're required to, make sure that we keep our people safe, and we're doing that in a very pragmatic way. When you look at that from a cost perspective, historically we've engaged with engineering consultancies to come and draw up plans, go away and physically manufacture, and then come out and install. We've now moved to a model where we've empowered the teams. They're now able to look at the site themselves and very cost effectively put up the fall prevention at a much greater reduction in cost. So I think that's been a really significant improvement. From a productivity perspective, I guess, I would point to Greg really in the ICM space around that. He has his work program that he works to with the team, and we support that as best we can from a safety perspective. Hopefully that's.
I'll just go to Chris here.
Through Mr. Chair, if I could just say something with respect to that. So, as the person probably overall primarily responsible for safety in this workplace, I would not be of a view to compromise safety productivity for the sake of it. And if any councillors have an issue with that, I think that would require a conversation with me.
Thanks, Chris. Robbie.
Yeah, I'm just going to go into a bit of detail, but I don't understand why you want to put those safety guards on those pumps when they're lockable rooms. That no one's actually in there when they're operating. They're only in there if there's a fault or it needs a service, which most probably means those panels need to come off to service it.
Yep.
So I'm looking at that pumps looking at the floor, unless someone walks in the room and they haven't done their laces up, what's going to catch up on that pump? So to put safety guards on there, I don't think is, from my point of view, is not relevant, but it's a lockable room. No one should be in it. So I just don't understand that going to that level of protection is relevant, but I'm just putting that out there. I see you put that thing on the wall there, a grease gun, to make sure it's serviced. You know, we've got that pump station there. We most probably spend a couple of $100,000.
We are governance, Robbie, not operation.
Pardon?
We're governance, not operation.
No, I'm doing, but it's governance as well. If how that's managed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why hasn't it gone to an electrical greasable system? That only needs to be done once a year.
Mr. Chair, I think if there's operational matters that you'd like to explore, I think that should happen through the committee, the relevant committee.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And as an electrician that works on these sort of things, we're in there all the time. There's various reasons to have guards on there when you're working around those machinery, because you're turning them on and off, testing, doing all sorts of things. So I'd counter that claim that there's no need. Ben.
Thank you, Stu. Two things. One, there seem to be a whole lot more incidents, but I guess that's because we've got a 3-month report this time around.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Cool. And at the risk of getting into management, when we were out looking at the sites the other day, I noticed those rakes that they use to haul things up. Concerned me that the rake could fall in as well. There's nothing tying the rake back to, so that's operational.
And if you'd like to sponsor some lanyards, I'm sure the crew would be more than happy. Yeah, just picking up on Ben's point around our sites visits around the sites last week. No, very impressed with the staff rundown on the hazards that we may encounter in those areas. That was the first thing that they spoke to us about, and it was impressive to see that. And just to your point, Keith, we do over the last training, we got a number of incidents come before us from other organisations, other companies and stuff like that, and just outlining that risk and where health and safety and work safe will actually go with the prosecutions and stuff like that. So just echoing Chris's concern that it's safety is a big piece of the operation, keeping those staff safe in that space. Just a quick question, just with the gentleman and the chemicals and stuff, are we holding hazardous chemicals in that washdown area as to the right of the gate when we come in?
Yes.
And just thinking council is transiting through that area and stuff, so
yep.
we have
all
operations in place.
Yeah, assessed and correct cabinetry for that and correct volumes down there. Yeah.
Okay. As there are no other questions, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Katarina. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Our next item up is 7.2, which is independent members of Risk and Assurance Committee. That's on page 23. So I'll let Janine give you an outline of this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read, I think hopefully fairly self-explanatory, really seeking direction from council in relation to the contracts for the independent members of our Risk and Assurance Committee, but of primary importance is in terms of the contract for the current chair of that committee whose contract is about to expire. I guess for me this is a balance between a good governance practice of having a regular refresh of your independent members with the moment in time that we're standing in at the moment, with the degree of change that's coming at us, and whether that warrants continuity in this role, or whether, say, from that rotation of advisors to you, given the length of service of Mr. Naylor, now's the time to consider going out and seeking expressions of interest in the role. If you wish to do that, we will work with you through establishment of an appointments committee to consider putting something probably through the Institute of Directors for expressions of interest, interviews and a selection process.
Thank you, Janine. I would just note that Councillor Smith has just put a piece in the chat and he is supportive of that action of going out to the market. So interested in hearing from any other councillors. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Warren. Look, I'm in support of number one. My reasons for that is that we have got two very experienced independent members of that committee. I'm deputy chair of it, so close relationship with both of them. Acknowledging the fact that Graham has been on that committee for quite a period of time, I would support what Councillor Smith's suggesting if we knew we had some longevity in front of us. We have no certainty over that. There's a significant cost associated with going to the market and replacing them. What I would like to see, this is not a proposal that's in here, is the rotation of the chair's responsibilities. I'd like to just test that with Janine, how she feels that would fit and whether that's going to create some issues between two independent members of that committee.
So do you want to, if you could comment on that, Jean, just
Janine,
just the mechanisms.
In terms of putting Paul in as the chair. I think we have an opportunity where we would be recontracting with the individuals anyway, and so that could be part of that process. I haven't spoken to Paul O'Connell on this because his contract's a little bit longer. I have been in communication with Graham Naylor, who was interested in continuing. I guess we would just have to have a conversation with those two members about that.
They're both high calibre. Paul's got a lot of experience, as has Graham. I have no problems with them continuing. It's just I don't think a rotation would do any harm, just bring a different perspective to the meetings, but that's just my personal viewpoint.
Thank you, Chris. So interested in hearing from other councillors. We have basically one opinion for going to market and one opinion for potentially keeping the two and a possible rotation of those roles between the two independents. So Ben and then
I generally support what Chris says in these things. He's got expertise, but the rotation might be an option. And if that's so, it should be considered and public excluded, those sorts of things.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Willing to, I've been on risk and assurance. I'm willing, really appreciate both of them. Willing to explore what Chris proposed with the rotation. Saying that also, how much would the cost be for going out to market, roughly?
Yeah, I think that 8,000. Did you say? Yeah, I think the last time we did it was through IOD. I think their advertising fee is in the order of 8,000 from memory. Yeah. And then it's obviously staff and elected member time.
That makes sense, thanks. Yeah, because I do, at first I thought, oh yeah, with a lot of change coming, why make more change, right? But at the same time, we know that change is almost constant now. And by the time that this lot of change finishes, it might be, even a much longer tenure. And so, yeah, I'm actually inclined to lean towards the option of going out to market, but really keen to hear what others think and not wedded to that in any way, because I really do appreciate the two we've got. Just wanted to add that.
Keith.
Yeah, just on Chris's affirmation of the quality of the two people we've got there, I'm quite comfortable to just roll over as it is. I don't see as any advantage of it at this stage of changing, sorry.
Again, both of them are of high calibre. I'd like to understand their approach to the transition challenges we have going ahead, though, because that is the new thing on the table, and how they might want to approach that, giving them the scope to come back to us with the best laid advice, but confident to show up to OAG or any of the transition agencies with those two advisors at their help. So kia ora.
Thank you. Any other councillors have an opinion one way or the other? So that, Angela.
Yeah, right. just really quickly. I guess if we did go out to market, there's nothing stopping current people applying again. So yeah, I'd probably be of the view just to see what's out there given transitions coming up.
Anyone else? Because this isn't helping our decisions.
Happy to
We're currently sitting about 3 for market and 4 for rotation. So
Happy to go to the market.
So
They can reapply.
yeah, Gary.
I'd support retaining and exploring the option of changing the chair.
Liz.
I'm a rotation, listing.
Yes, yep. Extension of contract and then potential rotation of chairs. No. I've currently got 4 for market and 6 for extension.
Mr. Chair, just to note, as I say, I haven't had a conversation with Paul Connell in terms of his contract overall. So this would, any recommendation in terms of that rotation would need to be subject to confirming that he wishes to extend his contract and step into a chair role potentially.
So just for confirmation, you need a direction today for this.
It would be helpful so that I can, particularly for Mr. Naylor, given his contract's about to expire, just so I know who I need to be working with in the new year around committee establishment and the like, but to give them certainty.
Okay, well, what I'm going to do is actually take it to a vote around the room. And Dave, I'll have you.
Based on the discussion in your straw poll, I've presented a possible resolution that you may wish to consider, and that is extending the contract to the independent members as appeared in the staff report and exploring potential chair rotation, noting that a discussion needs to be had with one of the potential members. So
we will now vote on the either support of this motion, which is the extension, and if I can have division, let's go to division, and so Dave will call the names. Sorry, right. So you're happy to move? Yeah. Happy to second. Thanks, Ben. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. Division called. Yeah, division's called. And so this is in support of what's on in front of you there, which is the extension and the potential rotation of the chairs across the 2 independent members. Dave?
Can I ask a quick question before you do that?
Sure.
It's the rotation of potential chairs, because if I remember correctly, there's only 2 independents, and one of them is the chair. So if you're rotating the chair, it's going to be between those 2 dependents, right?
Correct.
Dave.
righty ho. A division has been called. The newbies here, what'll happen is I will call the names one at a time. Can you please turn on your mics and indicate whether you support, oppose or abstain the motion? I will then record those, add them up and indicate at the end whether the motion is passed or carried. Councillor Cookson.
Support the motion.
Councillor Downard.
Against.
Councillor Dunbar-Smith. Support. Councillor Hodge. Support.
Get her on.
I'm for one. I'm not so sure. For rotational chair, I don't agree, but I do agree.
Your mic's gone off.
I agree to the first. I agree to the extension. I do not agree to the extra read.
Okay, so if I could just clarify, and Janine, correct me if I'm wrong, but the terms of reference for risk and insurance state that we would have 2 independents and one of them would be chair. Yeah. So one of the independents needs to be chair. This is exploring the potential of whether the current chair stays as chair or it rotates to the other independent member. But yeah.
So that's not what it's saying. So be clear, Janine, is that we want the independents to stay. I'm happy with that. I'm happy to extend. Right now, we're not even looking at who the chair is. We are only asking for 2 independents, correct?
So
Make up your
through.
mind.
We're extending one contract.
And so it does. So here you should say that we report independent members to the Risk and Insurance Committee. I agree. The council extends the contract for the independent members with one of them already as chair.
So through the chair, what elected members have said is, at the moment, we have one of our elected independents that has a contract with us as the chair and one that has a contract with us as a member. What some councillors have expressed is they would like to consider extending the contracts, but potentially changing the roles that are held by those independent members, which is where the additional text
So
has come
through the
from.
chair then, that number 2 is correct. We should have a number 3 if we are deciding to consider changing the chair of those independents. Because I do believe you should at least have a conversation with the independents. So I agree to 2. If we are going to consider changing the chair of the independent of today, there should be a number 3.
But the Explore picks up that ability, and so that discussion will come back to the Risk and Assurance Committee.
Still be a number 3. It should still be a number 3 because I'm happy with both. But if you're going to explore changing the chair, it should be also a choice of us to say, yes, we agree to you to explore, or we agree for it to stay as is. You're actually taking that choice away from the councillor of the chair role.
Okay, procedurally, I'll provide a bit of advice here. We have a mover and seconder for the motion that's on the screen. We have put the motion, which indicatively is not carried unanimously, and they're in the middle of a division. So where we're at the moment is we need to know whether, as the motion appears with parts 1 and 2, whether you support, oppose or abstain as it reads currently.
And I abstain if I can't have 1 and 2. Or I'll go against number 2. So you're saying that my choice of today is either I pick 1 and 2 together because it's passed, or I abstain all
That's
up.
correct. So
I
you
abstain.
abstain? Councillor Holmes.
Yep, I support the motion.
Councillor Hughes.
Support.
Councillor Marr.
Support.
Councillor Mahuta.
Against and foreshadow an amendment without the extra red bit. Do that.
Councillor Maguire. Councillor Nicol.
Against, I think market would have been good.
Councillor Raymer.
Support.
Councillor Smith.
I'm against, as I see it as a vote of no confidence in the chair if it proceeds.
Councillor Stolwick.
Support.
Councillor Strange.
Abstain. I think the process has been a little bit messy doing it. And
The motion is carried. 8 votes in favour, 4 against and 2 abstentions.
So, Mr. Chair, I will make contact with the independent members to discuss this resolution with them and just come back through you in the first instance in terms of if there's any issues with their interest in continuing on this basis.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Janine. Right, our next item before us is 7.3. That's the adoption of the 2026 meetings schedule on page 28. And I believe that's Dave.
That's me. I'm happy for this report to be taken as read. However, I will bring to your attention that arising from the workshops held earlier in the week, that we are likely to schedule a workshop sometime in between the 27th and 30th of January to discuss the RMA reform. And having dealt with the co-chairs of the Waikato Tainui Co-Governance Committee, the meeting in December was postponed, and that we will try and schedule at the same time in that last week of January. That brings us to February, where there is likely to be some changes, with the 9th and 10th meeting of council being deferred, moving it to the 25th and 26th, if required, to allow the annual plan to include considerations of decisions made by NZTA. And lastly, should we require to consult, we may schedule a meeting on the 11th of March for your approval of the annual plan to go to audit. But other than that, the calendar stands as it's presented in the agenda.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, kia ora.
Tash has been back to me about the Hauraki scheme, because it's me and Robbie and you. She's having problems cementing the date because it's clashing with the three of us somewhere, Dave. So as it only affects the three of us, me, Robbie and Warren as alternate or whatever, I'm happy for that to be a little bit flexible as now, if you keep talking with Ash.
I wasn't aware of that, but
She
for
just spoke
the
to me
record,
about 5
the
minutes ago.
Hauraki Scheme Subcommittee is in the calendar currently for the 3rd of March and 1st of September. So
Just thought I'd let you know that.
And obviously the calendar is subject to change based on meetings and other events that may crop up in the term of the calendar year.
Thank you. No other questions around the meeting schedule calendar as it stands, noting that Dave said that it is a living document, so to speak. So as we've all seen, thank you, Mikhail. Happy to move. Happy to second. Thank you, Chris. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. We'll now take a 10-minute break between meetings. Unless councillors are happy to roll on through. Okay, yeah. 10-minute break, back at 22.
Yes.
You want some?
No.
Or you need body.
Cut them all out of it. Fill them on side. Take them. Little. Barrier. Barrier.
Oh, two.
They did it. They were so close.
Yeah.
We could start a shiny coat.
Is 100. Through. Yes. I think.
It's still on.
Yeah, but that's actually. If there are that can be done. As soon as it comes out of the water, it has to be.
You know, we worked very hard to.
Oh. The only thing that I would be fertilizer. Bigger than so big.
Making commercial.
They seem to be trying.
back underway. We're on item 7.4. It's the allocation of the remuneration pool, and it's page 32 on your agenda. And I'll hand over to you, Marley.
Chair, morena councillors. This kaupapa will be familiar to you all. Earlier in the term, we did have a workshop on the allocation of remuneration for additional responsibility. I'll take the report as read and just cover some of the highlights. The Remuneration Authority set the pay for councillors across the country, and so for this council in the current term, the total governance remuneration pool is 986,000 or thereabouts, and a base councillor remuneration of 63,121. Any pay that is allocated to councillors over and above the base remuneration must be clearly justified, and the report sets out the sorts of things that are taken into consideration by the Remuneration Authority. I won't repeat that. Last month, Council adopted the committee structure and also made appointments with several leadership roles within the committee governance structure. Each of the roles have differing scale of complexity, and so what we've done is taken a look across the appointments and assessed how those appointments have been made. The authority will generally support any proposal that has unanimous support, fully allocates the remuneration pool, and clearly describes each role, the remuneration attached, and the members appointed. So once council approves a proposal, it will be submitted to the authority, and they have advised us that so long as they receive a proposal before the end of January, then they will gazette the proposal in early March. Whilst we have to wait till early March, payment will be backdated to the date of appointment, or the day after, actually, to be correct. You'll notice that at a very high level, the proposed remuneration structure is based on the following roles: Deputy Chair of Council, which is assessed as the highest responsibility, high complexity leadership roles, members holding multiple leadership roles, major committee chairs, standard chairs and co-chairs, and also deputy chairs. The exact ratios applied to each of those roles and the amount of remuneration is set out in the report, so I won't labour that either. What we're asking for today is the approval of the remuneration proposal, which includes a quantitative allocation model. That's the spreadsheet in attachment 1, and also the role descriptions for each of the positions, and that is in attachment 2. Both these documents show how the roles differ from baseline councillor duties and also why the additional remuneration is justified. That's me. Back to you.
Thank you, Marley. We'll go to questions. Tipper.
I don't support the paper. Just one question through the chair to Marley. In the last triennium, where there's a changing chair to deputy, how is that triggered? Is it by the terms of reference? Because I note a colleague of mine was the deputy, served as chair for a year before being changed to the chair. So I'm just wanting to know what was the right vehicle to ensure that the REM followed the responsibility. Not considering that any of these people are going to give away their important chair roles, but that was in fact the case at EPC last triennium. Yes, so when changes like that occur, given that it's not a change to the role or the remuneration, it's simply the person who's holding the role, then the updated REM follows when that change happens. So if there are any changes to appointments through the course of the year, you can expect that the remuneration that is attached to that responsibility follows whoever is appointed to the role. Agreed, but where that person is the deputy and serves as that for over a year before it's recognised by council to put that person as chair, what was the right remedy for that situation? I'm asking because it's not in the terms of reference. Yeah, sure. It's at the discretion of council. So I'm just trying to figure out where we should have triggered that. Sure. So the trigger point should have been to address, I guess, the appointment sooner. And so changing the appointment of the chair sooner would have meant that the remuneration would have followed earlier as well. Yeah. So a council decision, essentially.
Sorry, just Marley, Jen.
Yeah, thanks. No, happy with the paper all in all. Happy to move it. I just don't need any changes to the paper as such, but just putting the expectation out there because I didn't see it written explicitly. The people who are specifically involved in, say, the joint committees, and especially when it's chair of a joint committee, just want to acknowledge the extra work that's involved in actually working with all the members of that. Which is not as easy as when you're working with an internal committee where your members you see pretty much all the time. And the same goes for the JMA committees and so forth. So just putting out there that the expectation is, including on CEDM, let's say, where we're just a member, as opposed to the chair, that we put in that work to get all the members working together because it's for the benefit of our council to have these committees working to the best of their ability. Thank you. And it goes without saying probably, but it did come up last training briefly. Say, Robbie, you mentioned it as well. You know, it's that the chairs of each committee involve all of the members in all of the parts of the work so that there's no allegations of like, oh, why is a part of a committee running ahead and doing things and not involving that? So we know that having been here before, but just wanted to put it out there because expectations at the start make it clearer rather than bringing it up later in a problem. Thank you.
Robbie.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Marley, for your hard work in trying to make this as fair as possible. And I don't know if Noel's going to speak, but thank you for listening to myself and Noel about the effort that we put in and Noel's effort in all parts of his workload that he does within his constituency and the outer areas. So I think it's the work you've put into it and working out council's workload is thank you for your effort. It's very appreciated. Thank you.
You're happy to second? Are there any other comments? So we have oh, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, I was just going to say in relation to what Tipper was raising earlier, as I understood it, the person for EPC remained as chair until they formally stood down, so that there was no mechanism to, if they weren't absent, if someone was chairing it in their absence, it wasn't capable of paying someone at a deputy level when they weren't actually the formal chair. Is that correct?
Yes, what occurred last term is the chair stood down, but what council could have chosen to do is change that position as a council rather than waiting for someone to stand down. So I guess that's just a action or a approach or a direction council could have chosen to take, and just one worth highlighting given the question.
And I just want to note that maybe Robbie will now have on his business card, he's capable of high complexity leadership.
Let's not go too far. Right. So we yeah, it does. We have a mover and a seconder for the motion in front of us. All those in favour? Oh.
I'm voting for it. I just wondered, where do we report yours, Mr. Chair, just so that we're all in the light of day? Is it I know it's a separate pool, but is it a separate paper? Well, we don't typically bring a paper on the chairperson's remuneration to council on the basis that there is no decision to be made by council. It's set by the REM authority. I can't tell you exactly what that is off the top of my head, but it is in the vicinity of something like 180,000 per annum. Yeah, and it's set out in legislation. That's all public information. So I'm very happy to follow up with an email and just let you all know what that amount is.
Just
through
no,
the chair, I was just going
that was
to.
just sent out. Yeah.
I was going to maybe going to say the same thing. You go. There is legislation that sets all the remuneration.
Yeah.
And that is publicly available. And as I said, it can be distributed.
Well, it already was. This week we got a note of what the Remuneration Authority was doing.
It is of public record, yeah. Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, Marley. Right, the next item before council is the 7.5, which is the River Authority, Waikato River Authority nomination on page 39. Now, this has come about, as you will be aware, potentially that Councillor Stuart Kneebone's nomination in April of last year for his end of term, which was in about June of last year. We put that in. The minister has not made a decision on that nomination. So I made an inquiry on whether we have the ability to withdraw that nomination and renominate. Had advice back from the minister's office that we do have that ability. And so I did make that aware to the River Authority and also to Stu himself, so that it wasn't a shock or anything like that. For me, I think it's important that we have a councillor in that position as a nominee, and it's still up to the minister to approve or not, of course. But it gives us a feedback back into this council chamber, relatively simply being a councillor. So, and following up from that, so I would actually like to nominate Gary Raymer for that position.
I'd like to second that nomination, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
I have a nomination.
Councillor Hughes, and happy to hear for any other
I'd
nominations.
like to nominate Noel Smith.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Smith?
Yeah, I'll second. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Are there any other nominations? No, so we have Councillor Smith on the line and Councillor Raymer in the chamber. So I'll go to those two councillors for.
Oh, before you do
comments.
that, could I go to point 1 about the withdrawal process that this council has decided to invoke with regards to Councillor Stuart Kneebone? I think it disregards his contribution on WRA doing it this way. I think there's enough rapport that he would have resigned himself knowing we wanted to reappoint. This way it casts, I guess, the assumption that he did not serve this council by removing him this way. And I just wonder what kind of people we are to award excellent service in this role by revoking a resolution that most of you had nothing to do with. You were not involved in the nomination of Stu to this role. So again, on what 10 are you taking about? That's not withstanding. I think the second part needs to happen, but how we do the first shows the character of this council. So somewhere in that, you've got to recognise his service to this council as representing us on the WRA. The second step would be, Stu knows now, he can resign so that we can fill the role without it having to be a revoke of that service, because that's a judgment call that I don't think any of you have the privilege to make. That's just my opinion. And it's harsh. Well, unless there's better words, that seems like someone hasn't served their purpose.
Yeah, I think we could add some better words as well.
So just to follow up on that, I did send an email to Stu, thanking him very much for his long service on the WRA, and speaking to what I've done in that and what you've raised. So I did email that through to Stu well prior to this, when the question was raised on whether he was still appointed or not, because there was some confusion on whether his appointment had been clarified or not. So his position currently is that it hasn't been clarified, and that is why this has arisen in this ability. So I'll go back to Councillor Raymer first for some comments.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the nomination and the seconder. Look, I haven't spoken to all of you people. I haven't actually canvassed any of you people. It's just not my style to go around and canvass people. And even through the election to the campaign, I think Councillor Ben Dunbar-Smith told me I'd get out there and walk the streets and bang on doors, and I didn't do that. I tried to let my reputation carry it, and people knew who I was and what I stood for. And I think I bring a high level of integrity to the position. I think it's also very good to have a fresh set of eyes over the River Authority, somebody who hasn't been here for a while and looked into things. But I'm definitely firmly aligned with the river. Understand where the treaty obligations are and where they sit. And also listening to the presentation this morning on RMA and the changes and impact around that and where they sit. So I am no expert. I talked to Stu Nebane last night and had a conversation with him as well, and said to Stu, if I am successful, I'll need to have regular conversations with him just to help me in space where I'm weak and where I need help. So I'm trying to do a bit of homework in anticipation of this job. If I'm unsuccessful, that's fine. If I'm successful, I'll endeavour to be the best I can be for as your representative, but the Crown nomination, and very clearly it's a Crown area thing. So I look forward to your support.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And I'll come to you on Noel line. Online, Noel.
Thank you, and I apologise if I am not coherent in my language this morning. I've got a whole lot of stitches in my mouth, and it's a little bit uncomfortable speaking. So, hey, look, thanks to those who have nominated me and seconded me. The issue we have is a person for the WRA. Looking at the criteria of the person, I think I meet all of the criteria set out. I'm familiar with the background to the WRA and its inception through the governors initially, and obviously with the current work with JMAs and Waiora, have a fairly strong area of work in the river space. My concern is that this will turn out to be a rates control versus the rest, and I really am disappointed if that is the case. I see myself as the best person to take the role. However, politics is an interesting game, so I'll leave it to the rest of you to decide. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Noel. So what we will do is we will break the resolution down into those parts that you can see on the board there, and noting Tipper's point earlier with number 2, making sure that we do thank and recognise the effort that Stu has put in over the years and the many years that he has been involved in that space. So we have the first point, which is to take the report of the Waikato River Authority and withdraw and nominate an appointee on this council meeting. So I'm happy to move that as seen there, and it's been seconded by Councillor Hughes. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. The second one is that the resolution that was made back in the 27th of February, previously nominating Stuart Nebane, be revoked. And as I mentioned, that we do thank Councillor Nebane for his contributions over those years.
Can I just speak to that one very briefly?
Yep, sure.
Look, I just, as a bit of context, I mean, Tipper served as co-chair with Stu on the River Authority, and they undertook some significant work there to make that co-governance entity really hum, from what I understand from the conversations that I've had with them. So just verbally, I'm just going to say thanks to both of them for that. And I understand the logic of wanting a current councillor, and I understand with the delays with the minister that is how it's come about. So, Yep, thank you.
Thank you. So we have resolution number 2 in front of us. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Ben. Was that Keith? Keith, all those in favour? Opposed? So carried. The third one is that the council nominates Gary Raymer to the Minister Chris Bishop as its nominee for the Waikato River Authority. I'm happy to move that. And a seconder, thank you, Chris. All those in favour?
Given that we've got two nominees,
Opposed?
given that we have two, can we not ask questions of them before we go to this voting part? Because I've heard their spiel, I just don't know that they've answered the 3 questions asked of the role.
I don't think that's a requirement at this stage. Typically, we have heard from both nominees. Sorry, Dave, you wanted to talk to process?
Normally when there's 2 for a role, you get to ask them a question. Mr. Chair, that's been the convention at council since we've started.
Thank you.
For our committee chairs.
Just for clarity's sake, this motion isn't treated the same as when we appoint chairs under the Local Government Act, i.e. when we choose the voting systems and so forth. So with the 2 nominees, what we can do is we have a motion, which the first motion is that Councillor Raymer be nominated. If that motion is lost, we have a foreshadowed motion that council then nominates Councillor Smith. So, in other words, should council wish Councillor Smith to be the representative nominated, the first motion nominating Councillor Raymer would need to be lost in order for the second motion to be tabled. If the first motion for Councillor Raymer is carried, we will not put the second motion.
Okay, so now that I understand the process, apologies, I'm caught in now. I should have said, when I spoke to this, as the former co-chair of the River Authority and probably having the most history because I was on the Statutory Establishment Board prior to the River Authority as well with Kataroina, we would hope that any appointed member would lean into our expertise because it's obvious that both members would need support. Again, neither of you have talked to us, tēnā koe mō te reta. So co-governance, not a strength at this table. Yeah, so I'm just noting it's only co-governance in the River Authority room. I respect that you've both got financial management, but in terms of strategic governance, the vision and strategy is what I expected to hear from both of you because that's the review currently on. Knowing generic stuff about co-governance doesn't quite cut it 10 years plus in on the River Authority. The other thing about Waipa is you have had your lion's share of funding from the River Authority, and this will be the 3rd Waipa representative in a row appointed by this council. So note the bias, we'll check in on it and make sure that every other catchment benefits. I just note Councillor Livingston, Councillor Kneebone, and should it go this way, Councillor Raymer, will all no doubt continue to benefit in the Waipa. Kia ora.
Thank you for that statement, Tipper. We have a nomination and process in place. All those in favour of item 3?
Aye.
I did previously, but I will do it again, that the council nominates Council Gary Raymer to the Minister Chris Bishop as its nominee for the Waikato River Authority. All those in favour? Opposed?
Division.
Are you calling for division? Yeah.
Okay, dokie. This will be the same process as we had previously. I will call your names. You are voting on whether council nominates Councillor Gary Raymer to Minister Chris Bishop as its nominee to the Waikato River Authority. When I call your name, can you please turn on your mic and indicate whether you support, oppose or abstain from Councillor Downard?
Support.
Councillor Dunbar-Smith? Support. Councillor Hodge? Councillor Holmes?
Support.
Councillor Hughes?
Support.
Councillor Ma?
Support.
Councillor Mahuta?
Against.
Councillor Maguire?
Support.
Councillor Nicol?
Against.
Councillor Raymer?
Support.
Councillor Smith,
Oppose.
Councillor Stolwick,
Support.
Councillor Strange,
Oppose.
Councillor Cookson.
Support.
Jacob.
The motion is carried, 9 votes to 5.
Thank you, Dave, and congratulations, Gary, on your appointment to the Waikato River Authority. Nomination, sorry. Sorry, Minister appoints. Quite correct. Right, our next item up is item 7.6, which is the letter to New Zealand Transport Agency on Te Huia extension. That's on page 47 of your agenda. And we have Phil joining us. Yeah. I was going to say morning, but it's afternoon now, Phil. So, and if you will introduce your colleague to us as well, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, councillors. I'll introduce James Llewellyn, who's a contractor supporting the Te Huia programme. He's been leading the 6 work streams that we've described to you over several previous discussions. So by way of introduction, the paper in front of you this morning is an alternative opportunity for council to consider in the context of the future of the Te Huia train as it comes towards the end of its trial period. The annual plan and the workshop that we had on Tuesday described the options that are available to you to continue with the annual plan process or to consider and decide whether to send this letter to the NZTA board ahead of them potentially considering a change to that process via a 12-month extension to the trial to be decided with your support at the February board meeting. We're here really to answer any questions that you might have, but we'll let you have a full conversation about your thoughts on this opportunity and really pass to you for any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Phil. So yeah, so this is for questions, councillors, around this item. Noting that we did have the presentation from the Hamilton City Council deputation this morning. I take it, please let me know if you're not, that you all received Dave's email yesterday on the 3 letters of support from the Hamilton City Council, the Waipa District Council, and also the Waikato District Council. And you've all seen that. And we'll open for questions. Angela.
Okay, so just to clarify, questions?
Yeah.
Comments are coming later, or?
Questions, comments, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start us off. Thank you, Phil and James and the team for all of your work, and acknowledge that the workshop that we had last week and the discussion that was had there, which will soon be released into public. Yeah, also want to acknowledge your work behind the scenes as well, working with NZTA staff around coming to this point of time with sending the letter. Just want to remind councillors that this is, part of a 2-step process in regards to the annual plan, similar to what was discussed the other day around a 2-step process around talking to primary industry stakeholders as well. In the best interest of our ratepayers, in my opinion, sending this letter makes complete sense. We heard through the campaign, people are hurting with rates, and asking for the continuation of this FAR rate for the full potential of the trial to be realised, in full support with our partner councils as well. Makes sense for the ratepayer, not just right now, but future ratepayers in the future. Te Huia is about more than just a train. It is about what it unlocks, and the strategic place that it plays in the Upper North Island as well, not just for Hamilton, but for future rail connections, south, east, and of course north into Auckland as well. I'd just like to remind councillors of last Thursday, the trip we took, looking at our flood infrastructure, talking to our representative from Auckland Council, who also sits on Future Proof, and the indicative support from them as well. Then on Friday, for those of you who weren't present at Future Proof, we had full support, which has now been followed up from some letters for our partner councils as well. Yeah, given that this paper today is to send a letter, it's not indicative of any future decisions, because those decisions will come back to us. I would like to move this motion, and I'll leave it there for further questions and discussions.
Thank you, Angela. Ben?
Yes, I am not comfortable with the letter in its current form. I'm comfortable with us asking, as the mayors have requested us, to ask for a 60% FAR rate for a 1-year trial extension. But if they choose not to give us 60%, I believe we should go back to the current position, as stated in the workshop. NZTA will decide on co-funding a permanent Te Huia service at its April 2026 board meeting. So I think there's been, almost $250,000, more than that, spent on analysing the service and looking to see whether it is viable as a permanent service. We should allow NZTA to make that decision if they don't approve the 60% trial extension. If they come back at 51%, I'm saying they should actually go back and let us know what is the permanent future, because that's the work we've done already. The idea that the train is magically going to turn around and increase patronage to make it viable, I don't think it's viable. There was a 10%.
It's already meeting its targets, Ben.
Well, it's not meeting its targets. There is currently
Look, let's keep the discussion to the letter.
Yeah.
You proposed, and it was something that has been circulated to councillors, so I hope you have seen it, a redrafted letter.
Yes.
Which I do. Dave, do you have a copy of? No, Dave doesn't have a copy of. Okay. So
it amends the letter, and so I would forward that to Dave and ask him to.
Yeah.
I don't need the detail, but what's so offensive about said letter, please? We're in a process conversation here. Is it just wanting to know, without going through the detail, what are the matters that you need to
Basically, the letter says that the letter at the current stage starts off asking for the 60%, then talking about the Te Huia, the first three sentences of this as it is, and then it says if the NZTA board chooses not to do the 60% for the trial, then we go automatically back to them making a decision based on their evidence and evaluation to whether they want a permanent service or not. And then at that point, once they've made that decision in an April meeting, we can decide where we're at and what the long-term implications are for rolling stock and everything else. So we have a full evaluation.
I understand the direction, but it's not in our role to tell NZTA what their job is. We can express a preference and our key timelines, but I'm pretty sure they know their remit. They're appointed under public sector board with their different. So all I can say is any council can put up a best case, but it's not our jurisdiction over them to do anything
Just like to
or direct
answer,
them to do anything.
would like to answer that. At the moment, NZTA is currently deciding on co-funding a permanent Te Huia service at its April 26 board meeting. That's the current state. That's where we're at.
So the letter is asking for that clarity to be made sure that.
No, this letter is asking for an extension for a year at 60%.
But think about that.
So I'm saying that we carry on, the train carries on its current track apart from this letter.
Jen.
That's
Yeah, so I mean, I've had a look at the letter and I note some key differences. I think that I understand the intention of wanting to be a bit more forthright and blunt about the fact that we want the 60% bar rate. And that's a good thing in my view. I think it's really important, being in a trial, that is a request of ours and a preference of ours. I think that it is best if our letter leaves all the options open as much as possible for our February meeting. And so I think it might go a little bit too bolshy in some parts. I note that when Phil King drafted the letter, there are some bits in there about how we're very grateful for NZTA's contribution, which are now no longer in there. I think we should put that back in. It's one short sentence, because ultimately it is a diplomatic exchange. And so if we find the right balance, I think we'll get to a good letter. That's where I'm at. The key difference also is that, Ben, in your draft there, you've taken out the piece around requesting part funding of rolling stock business case, and I'm just going to invite you to say why that is, and then I would ask whether Phil could comment on why he put it in there and what the consequences are of us not putting it in here and all of that. Thank you.
If I just answer that, I think Phil's letter is fine, the first three paragraphs, then it gets confusing because it seems to, it's then asking about rolling stock and asking for 50% of 550,000 be allocated by the board. I'm saying the board should make a decision on, firstly, whether it wants to actually move forward with a trial, and secondly, what its permanent decision is before we start asking for money for rolling stock. Happy with that in a separate letter, possibly good to go to the April meeting, but not confused in this.
Yeah, leave that mic on, Phil.
So fundamentally, the alternative version of the letter doesn't raise any significant concerns from my perspective. The discussion about the funding for investigating future rolling stock options was something that was touched on at the workshop with the agency last week, and it was a question that you put to me on Tuesday at the annual plan workshop. My comment there is the same, which is that we need to be working hard to secure that funding because it will really help us with the delivery of that work. If we don't get NZTA support for that work, we'll fund all of it ourselves, and that will have a greater cost to us. But that discussion could be carried alongside this one. So the removal of that paragraph isn't significant in itself.
I'd be happy to split it into two letters, but it would be silly not to ask for part funding as a council in this time of rates capping coming up on us. Thank you.
Chris, you had your letter.
Thanks. Look, I'm on the same page as Ben. To be quite honest, I cannot see the point in running the service beyond the end of June next year if the NZTA are not going to support this at the requested FAR level. The result is inevitable. The costs are unknown at this stage, and that's what scares living daylights out of me. We know about the rolling stock or potential rolling stock, but there's a lot of other complications in terms of the decision making. We don't have that information. I don't believe we should even be wasting money on determining that information until we've got NZTA support. Once we've got it, we've got a commitment and we can move forward. At the moment, there's too much uncertainty, and I don't believe our ratepayers should be wearing the cost. Thank you.
Gary Raymer.
So I concur with what Chris just said. I was going to go down the same line. It's just that level of unknown beyond a trial that has me concerned, and what we're committing to. So, which then I question whether we need a trial. What I also haven't seen, or maybe I've missed it, is what are the target passenger numbers that you want to see at the end of the trial? You know, so what is it, and is there enough stretch in there to say that if we hit those numbers, we've actually got success, or is it just at 280?
So I at this stage, there's no need to answer that, but this is just regarding the letter. Let's stick with that. That's obviously a greater conversation that will come up through transport. Keith.
Yeah, thanks, Warren. I'm supporting the stance that Ben's promoting because I think in this whole discussion, it's not about getting rid of rail. It's actually, I think there's a bigger picture that needs a longer conversation. And in terms of Te Huia, it's not fit for purpose. The rolling stock is more of the same. And it's and in terms of the work that we need to do, it's money spent, which is not going to achieve the best outcome for the Waikato. So absolutely support Ben's rewording.
Yep. Gary Maguire.
I support what Chris is saying over there, but my concern still is that it's not just rolling stock, it's the actual...
Look, can we stick to the letter, guys, please?
The rolling stock part out.
Rolling stock, but also stations.
Thanks. Tipper.
Oh, I just wanted to come back to the letter, Mr. Chair. I just think that it doesn't reflect the long relationship we've had with NZTA talking to them like this. We developed the highways through this region with them as a partner in this development. If we're talking to a partner, talk to them like a partner in this. We don't have to stick fingers up noses. I just think there's a tone to this, and I just want to leave doors open for those that have to make happy friends like you, Mr. Chair. I'd rather be the one sticking my finger up their nose and have you sign a letter that does it. So tēnā koe.
Thank you.
Sorry. We are probably the only other big user of rail when we move our masses. And to note, the biggest event in the Waikato will be hosted at Hopopu in February of 2027. It is a whopping great train access there. So again, we'll be using it. We used it for both the last funerals and for some of the major trips to Wellington. So we look forward to this increased service. Kia ora.
Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, look, NZTA has put more money into this than anybody. So we're a partner with them, and to Tipper's point, it's just about the tone of the letter. I think that, Ben, your intention, we can absolutely get in there. But the sticking point, perhaps, in a way, is what if NZTA receiving this letter want another year of data? They look at the 3 years, 9 months, and they're like, we wanted a 5-year trial, and we're a big partner in this. So if they want the extra year, it's their prerogative to say, we want the extra year. And one of the reasons they might say that is because it lines up with their funding round, their National Land Transport Plan and Fund. And for our better decision making, rather than new council right now in your plan learning phase, we could do it in the long-term plan like we were requested to by our other partner this morning. So I think we should be a bit flexible to just see what they want to say, while being really strong, as you've intended, to say we want the 60% FAR. We really do. And you know, whether you add in the fact that we're under lots of pressure at the moment with rates capping and other things to consider, go nuts with it. But if we could just tweak the letter through a short break or something, I think we can get on board with it.
Ben.
It's my suggestion.
I'm really happy to add the last sentence Phil had. Council is very grateful to NZTA for its continued support to Hoa and hopes to the request for 1 year extension will be considered. That can add at the bottom. I'm just saying that the mayors have been asking for 60%, and so we should stick with that. But if otherwise we drop back to make a decision on the permanent service that you've been evaluating and we've spent a lot of money on.
So I think we've got to an answer, and you're happy to have that piece in the bottom. So just testing that with council is that last paragraph that was in the original letter is happy to go at the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, Robbie, you're pointing.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Noel.
Look, I've just put something in there. It says keep it simple. ask for the extension and keep it at asking to be kept at 60%. The reality is, if it's a no, then what Ben is suggesting is automatically comes into play, that the review will be done in April on the answer given. And introducing other things about stations or otherwise is irrelevant, and I think it's defeating. So keep it simple, to the point, and if it needs a rewrite, take a break. Yeah, thanks.
So I just comment that I've removed the reference to rolling stock and stations, so that's out. If we add in the sentence that we're grateful for their continued support, it tones the letter down. But I'd hate them to think that if they come back at 51% for a trial,
we understand the gut
right.
of the letter. Thanks, Ben. No need to. Yep, Liz.
Yeah. I think we're all largely agreed, which is great. But I'm even more happier that Phil is happy with the amended letter, because I think bringing staff on the journey is really important as well. So agree with the sentiment. I'd like this letter, once we've got it confirmed, to actually go out to all the councils, because I think we need absolute clarity, and they need clarity around our intended timeline, because I think right now there's probably a little bit of confusion about what happens when, and when the key decisions are going to be made and by who. So identifying what NZTA decisions are going to be and when and what board meeting, if we can just get that timeline out to all the councils, so that we don't have a last minute flurry like we had this time, around the councils not really fully understanding where we're at. So if that's something we can agree on, that would be good.
Thanks. So what we have in front of us basically, I think, picks up everything we've spoken. It picks up Ben's addition in that space. You'll note there that we also, including that last paragraph that's under 9.2, and the council is very grateful, etc., as Dave's outlined there. So I think we can move to basically put this motion.
Just before you put it, Mr. Chair, I think that staff understand what you're requesting here, and I just want to recheck. Is there any advice you have that would be to the contrary of what the discussion has been and what's suggested?
No, none at all.
Thanks for that clarity.
Just a procedural question through about the paper, through both the CE and yourself in the future, and this is in support, Ben, of those of us who might be really behind an issue and they're coming to council. What would be the best way to get it advised in? Because I note that we're the democratically elected, not the experts on the matter. Would it be to refer it through the CE, so that you can? So I just note this is the third time that we've had to check out resolutions on screen, and I commend the councillor for his effort, but it's always finding out on the morning of, and it's very hard to be responsive. So my suggestion, Ben, would be it should have gone to Chris and or Phil, so that they could arrive with some better placed words that suit your ambit, rather than us batting here, because it does lead to very messy process, and we want excellence. I thought that's what we're going for. So looking just for protocol, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, and just acknowledging that this has dropped out of a workshop and out of some letters that have kept coming to us from councils.
From councillors at this table.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be that late. That's all I'm asking for. Greater disclosure.
Understand the sentiment. Sorry, Chris.
Just in response, I'd like to thank Ben and compliment him on the effort that he's put in. I received this yesterday, and I don't think that's unreasonable. It's not a significant change. So thanks, Councillor Dunbar-Smith, for your efforts.
The mistake was it didn't go. The mistake was it didn't go to Dave, so he could actually write it up.
Yeah. No, I can.
So looking for a mover and a seconder. Oh, sorry, it has. Yep. Sorry, Councillor Strange, seconded by.
Happy to second.
Happy. Thank you, Councillor Mahuta. All those in favour?
Part 3 of this resolution has an and or, and that is subject to the NZTA board decision. The public engagement will either be part of the annual plan or the long-term plan process. Just checking that both of those should remain, Phil.
We don't have an NZTA board decision, so that resolution highlighted the next steps of following their decision.
So we don't need to pass that one?
All those in favour?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. So that brings us to lunch. Thank you very much, and we will be back at 1 p.m. motion to move into public excluded? Happy to move. Thank you. Happy to second. Thanks, Keith. All those in favour? Opposed? So carried. One moment, please. That brings us to the end of our council meeting today. So thank you very much for your attendance. Just like to wish yourselves, your families, and that a very happy new year, and be safe out there. At this stage, we will be back probably late January, just waiting to see, obviously, when those submissions are required, etc., in the RM, and a number of us have a few meetings during January in that space as well. So, but yeah, all the best for you and your families. Have a great and safe time. Enjoy your break, recharge, and we'll see you back here in the new year. The drinks that you were teased with over lunch will now be available. So please stay around, have a bit of a chat, and enjoy a drink or two, and then drive safely home. Yes, thank you, Tipper. And I'll get Dave to close with the karakia. Thank you, Dave.
Unihia, mai te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te hininaro, e te ara takatū, koia rā e rongo, e whakairia aki kia runga, kia tina, homie, hui, kai kia.
Thank you, Dave. Meeting closed at